Empty space and Cartesian edges are both spatial structures. Phenomenal moments are originally temporal. World is occurring. It's when you start inserting empty space and Cartesian edges into the phenomenal moment that you transform the phenomenal moment into a spatial environment of self and other, a world that you are in. This spatial arrangement of self and world is not originally there in the phenomenal moment itself. In the phenomenal moment itself, in the moment of world that is really occurring, Jikko is not separate from Banpo. You are not separate from the myriad dharmas, and there is no you advancing through the world. The point of Jikko and Banpo is this. Each phenomenal moment, the myriad dharmas advance and actualize a self. This moment of self that is actualized is completely empty. No substantial self gets created. There is a vast, roaring, phenomenal event of world taking place. The myriad dharmas are all arising. And you can think of this as an event of world or as an event of self, as Banpo or as Jikko. It makes no difference. You can flip the switch back and forth and experience each moment as Jikko, self, or Banpo, all things. But once you transform the temporal moment of world that is occurring into a spatialized world that is there, you can no longer flip that switch. Once your mind creates a situation of an isolated self operating in a spatialized world, you have cut Jikko away from Banpo. You have separated yourself from the myriad dharmas. You can't even find the switch, let alone flip it. This empty space that we are talking about, the one you insert between yourself and the myriad dharmas, has generated every moment of self that you've ever had. The self that you've identified with your whole life is essentially made up of a stream of mental activity and emotional states. All these emotional states, all this mental activity, is being generated by one thing: the empty space that you insert between yourself and the myriad dharmas. When you insert empty space between self and world, the self must cross that empty space in order to know the world, and in order to escape its own isolation. So this becomes the entire struggle of your life, to cross the empty space that you have established between yourself and world. And all your mental activity, all your emotional states, and all your activity in the world are generated by this, your attempts to cross the empty space between yourself and world. And this is all added up to the experience of self that you have had your whole life. So you are sure this self is real, and that the empty space is real. But once you stop inserting empty space between yourself and myriad dharmas, that whole struggle ends, and that version of self no longer arises. This is what Master Dogen is pointing at when he says that all delusion comes from how you encounter the myriad dharmas. All your life, your approach has been to encounter the phenomenal moment as a conceptual landscape of self and other, and then head off through that landscape. So if you want to get anywhere in Zen, you have to stop generating all this delusion, this spatialized landscape of self and world. You have to stop inserting empty space between yourself and the myriad dharmas.